Substitutes coming on. How many people in here? We got the stream up here in double stream. All right, substitutions being made. I don't think I can play the audio of this game in the meantime, so we're just gonna have to watch along. Santangelo will probably be here. Chiesa just got subbed on for Juve. Luca Romero looks like he's about to get subbed on. Calabria handing over the captain's armband to Simone Kier. Hey, Anthony, how are you? I'm just doing a short thing here. Okay, so Romero and Kier on for Reinders and Calabria. 78th minute or so. 79th, excuse me. So very frustrating game for Milan on so many different levels for this, honestly. Actually, Anthony, I need your help. If you hear the game, let me know if you hear it right now. Because if you hear it, then I'll have to stop it. Yeah, very unlucky goal off of Krunic there. This camera is way better. Far better. Santangelo.
Yep.
With this. Anthony, okay, so you didn't hear anything? Here, Matt, you tell me. Do you hear the commentary coming through?
No.
Perfect. All right. So we're not going to get caught for any issues here. I hear you're texting, so if you want to go
My
there.
bad.
You're good. You're good.
All right, you're good.
Yeah, so Krunic coming on. Unlucky deflection with that, but this result was down in the toilet the second that red card was committed by Chow. And it looked like he was obviously overcommitting the entire time, the game, I mean. Here bombs it up forward. Jovic gets it at his feet, turning. He's got to send it out wide. To Kalulu. Kalulu one-time cross in the middle of the box. Nothing. Deflected. Musa with the ball outside the area. Milan recirculating. Musa in swinging cross. Deflected. Grabs it back off of Chiesa. Out of play. So we got some Luca Romero featuring. Just a disastrous result, man. I mean, we'll see if Milan can salvage anything out of this, but to not even have an opportunity really to put yourselves in a great position to win, it's frustrating with this fixture. So obviously, Chow is not going to be starting against Napoli, so it'll be something like Tomori and Chiara swinging cross cleared out by Juve. So Chow obviously going to get that midweek against PSG, I assume. Juve and the counterattack here. They messed that up completely. Perfectly fine tackle. Got to get back on the counter here. Luca Romero. Come on.
What do you want me to do with your phone, you said, sir? I need a screen.
Come on, my phone's acting up right now.
You're good. You're good. You're good. Cross. Collected. Lands on Musa's feet. Come on, Yunus. His legs are tired.
This game's a joke.
Yeah, try not to move too much. Your mic is a little sensitive, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. We're good.
Corner kick for Milan. Good job. Milan surprisingly have a lot of possession here towards the end of this. I know Juve is trying to hit out on the counter. You have the numbers for that. I understand. But this is what Juventus does, and this is why Max Allegri is still not a great manager. That was actually a foul on Krunic, so Milan are actually really lucky not to get that called against them. But this is why Allegri stinks, man. This is not a good enough manager where you're bringing off this type of talent, like 100 and something, whatever it's worth, between Vlahovic and Chiesa, what the transfers were. And they're struggling to score a second. I mean, this is just Tim Weah just goes down. It looks like cramps possibly. There was a terrible pass to Vlahovic. Vlahovic was fouled. There was no call for it. And it looks like Miretti's about to come on for Juve.
Mhm.
For Weah. What a deflating opportunity for the Americans. It looks like Luca Romero's on the corner here.
And he scored an Olympico goal here. Watch.
Send in doesn't beat the first man.
Yeah.
Romero wins it back at least. Kier passing that through. No way Musa's going to get there. That was an elbow thrown. So that should have been a foul. But you know what? I guess it offsets because Milan got away with that. Brown's driving right here too. For the win, nothing. Out of play. Fourth down. That's also just another crazy fixture going on right now. Akeem asks, do you think Pulisic should have been one subbed off? Would I think it been Giroud? I don't think he was going to take off his big target man. I mean, there's no right answer for it. I don't know what you think.
I think it probably should have been Giroud for Okafor, because I think if anything, like in matches where Giroud's on, I think it's pretty obvious how one-dimensional we can be from that position. I think Giroud can still help us in some ways, but we're a little bit more dynamic with Okafor. And if you're down a player, Giroud's even more isolated. Like you'll have two players that can be draped over him. He's not getting the ball, or you smother Leao. Like, what are you really going to do with Giroud up top, down a player? Like
it's just, and then the Jovic substitute itself doesn't make much sense. Like there's no Okafor start against PSG midweek. No, George Juve didn't win yet, but that insult to injury with Locatelli scoring. Listen, he's celebrating. He's going to celebrate. Don't really care.
Yeah, I don't.
The guy left half a decade ago. It's really something I truly don't care about at this point.
Yeah,
but I know that's going to be a topic of conversation for a lot of Milanisti. But Chiesa moving right here. Vlahovic trying to lay it off. Nothing. Lulu. Clearance to Krunic.
It's a shame though, because it was one moment completely.
The ball away. Vlahovic shot saved by Mirante. That was a pretty good save, but I don't know if you're slightly ahead or behind of me.
I might be. I think I'm slightly behind because my brother actually texted me. He was like, "Lucky," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then I saw the goal went in. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay, so
I'm probably slightly.
I was gonna say, if you're ahead of me, just don't say anything.
No, you're fine.
Mr. Swifty says just got a tip from Tonali, 93rd minute equalizer. Smith Najiba with a touchdown for my fantasy team. I'll take it.
I mean, dude, that card absolutely took the air out of the game. I mean, I think like Milan were fine.
Yeah, I mean, Milan were the better team. They had the better opportunity at that point. I mean, Kane was taking care of business against our guy in Chow. And this is something that, how many times did we say this in almost every single podcast, especially in the previews? We're worried about the defense. We're worried about silly mistakes and individual errors. That pass back by Kier was almost given away. Yeah. What was that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I think it's look, I mean, if you're being honest, now we're looking ahead to the game next weekend against Napoli. And Napoli, look, I mean, for all the frustrations they've had to start their season under Garcia, who's been less than convincing in replacement of Spalletti, some of their players have caught fire. I mean, Kvaratskhelia is scoring some goals. They're putting together some results.
He was the entire team against Verona. I mean, Napoli played pretty well, but like his offensive performance is incredible. But this is again.
But now you're out, guys. It's like,
what do you?
This is a joke. I think the last time.
I mean, this is just an incredibly fortunate scenario for Juve.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to give it to them. This is all me. It is Milan's fault. I don't think Juve played well at all. I really don't. I think this is if I was a Juventino, you're happy with the 3 points. You head into Milan. Chiesa and Vlahovic did not start for this. Danilo is another player who's been out. But if you're talking about performances and not results, this is another awful performance. Another awful performance by Juve. I would not be happy about this other than the fact that you just get 3 points at San Siro. And Juve, again, the past 2 wins against Milan, if they end up taking this from us, it was that one result where Milan was basically fielding a B team and Calabria was a defensive midfielder. Chiesa and Dybala destroyed them the year that Milan finished top 4 and Inter won the Scudetto. Romero with that pass there. No, that has to be further through to Leao. Fouled.
Yeah, this is. And we said it too, though. Like this was going to be the period, right? Like you have PSG twice, you have Napoli, you have Juve, and we'll see what they're made of. I mean, they kind of skated on by in some of these results, and looked good. They got it was all fine and well what they did against Genoa to get that win, and it's amazing how wins can really mask and disguise and cure all.
I mean, that basically masked a lot of Juve's season last year where they rip off 10 straight 1-0 type of wins and another 1-0 type of win here. I don't know. If I was a Juve fan, I would kind of be still upset at this. I know beggars can't be choosers, but it's a big boost for them. Basically, everyone competing for top 40 yesterday picked up 3 points with Inter, Lazio, and excuse me, Roma not really much of a top 4 competitor. Atalanta won today. Yeah. I'm obviously drawing a blank. I said Lazio, Napoli obviously is who we were talking about earlier. All those teams picking up the 3 points. As of right now in the league, you're basically looking at Milan in second, 1 point above Juve. If results hold, 4 above Fiorentina, 4 above Napoli, 5 above Atalanta, still 7 up on Roma. But head to Napoli next week, who we'll see how they do. They're not going to be with Victor Osimhen. That's something that we're going to be discussing when that comes forward. The only positive from this game, Pulisic will be rested for Wednesday. I do agree with that, and I kind of understand it now that I think about it. If Chukwueze is out for an extended period of time and Pulisic is going to have to carrying heavy minutes here, you're down 1-0. Look at Allegri with this fake anger, man. You're so what an annoying type of guy. You're up 1-0. Stop bickering about little stupid things here. And I know that might sound hypocritical when I said they should be disgusted with this performance, but get over yourself, man. You're stealing 3 points. You're benefiting from that. I'm not saying stealing in the sense of Juve stealing. I'm saying Milan literally gifted 3 points here. Good pressing by Juve. Rabiot with the ball. Just awful. I'd rather have lost 4-0 instead of whatever this is. Wow. Vlahovic turn. Nothing. Oh, I think Musa got stepped on by accident. He clearly got stepped on. Top of the box.
Yeah.
Mirante.
Oh, man.
Spills
it. Oh, another save.
Double save. You have to be honest here today. Mirante has done everything that was asked of him. I don't think a deflection. Oh.
Also, like, maybe I'm being harsh, but like, was that Musa who went down?
Yes.
My guy, get up! You're at the edge of the box. Like,
yeah, no, I agree with that. But I think he got stepped out. I don't understand. That's just a trait that players have these days. They're told.
See, but now he's. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's me, but like, bro, you're at the edge of the box. Your team's down a player already. Like, you have to get up. Like, I don't know. Again, it's just.
I mean,
the Magnon ones. I mean, the Teo's inexcusable.
I mean, I think
Magnon's a little bit different. I mean,
more people should be mad at Teo. How do you not?
Yeah,
it's the 9th match today. How are you possibly accumulating enough yellow cards? How do you get to that point?
We pick up a lot of yellows, man. A lot.
Yeah,
of
I think that's
yellows.
something Anthony brought up at halftime.
Jeez.
We're not going to be staying on for too long. Matt's at his place, his parents' place. Apologies. Just wanted to get on here, just see what these live reactions would be. I'm going to just put this on mute right now. See if that gives Milan any luck.
I'm watching the game on my phone too.
I mean, listen, Juve have four minutes or so to see this result out. This is just, and I texted my cousin at the same time too, and I was just like, wow. I was like, if I was a Juve fan, I would be pissed. And then 20 seconds later, Locatelli with the deflection. I think more supporters are going to be disappointed at who Milan dropped points to now, because later in the end, wow. Good job. Push him here. You have 3 minutes. You have to give everything you have. That's not going to do anything.
What is that?
I don't know. Well, the ball's not great at his feet.
Yeah, but it's a basic clearance. Like that's a basic kick.
It was like a pop up in baseball.
It's like like someone's calling for a fair catch. Like, what are you doing? Look, at the end of the day, like third choice goalkeeper. I mean, it's strange because like I felt pretty good about coming into this match, despite the injuries, despite the suspensions. Juventus were down a lot of players too, whether it be to betting scandal or injuries or whatever,
or doping scandals.
Yeah, it's just like I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like in a one-off match, I think Mirante could do the job, and like,
yeah,
he's done the job. They had the one chance, it was a deflection. I saw people say that I think Bagnon would have saved that. I don't think so. That was.
Deflections are deflections. You know what it really is. It's just what it comes down to is Milan need to stay healthy, and if they're not healthy enough, they're going to cost themselves some serious points. This one ends up hurting them. I still think, despite both losses for either side, the losses for Juve are self-inflicting 2 losses. You could argue the same about Milan and those yellow cards, but the injuries in the midfield, where they don't have their starting midfield. They're down to their third choice players in that area. Chukwueze, also another guy that can come on and change the dynamic. And oh my goodness, do we have to repeat it again? Juve were up a man for 50+ minutes, and they only managed to score 1 goal on Milan. Very frustrating. Another low-scoring game for the Rossoneri. There's about a minute left here. You know Juve are going to celebrate and go crazy. What happened? Did Allegri get sent off?
It looks like
he got a yellow card. I mean, he's irate and just throwing a scene today. What is he so angry about? What does he want?
Dude, I don't know.
The way Juve are, there's a lack of execution.
Maybe. But I don't. Yeah, this game has been. Man, it did not live up to the billing at all. We didn't really see much of anything from the American players.
You knew this match was busted the second you saw all those Americans outside the Coliseum.
Dude, yeah, that was the jinx.
Yes, George, absolutely. Clear red card. Just no denying it. Kane would have been through on goal. Whether he scores or not, it's a different story, but we know how the rules go. I don't think anyone is contesting that. Mirante, in my opinion, was man of the match. I don't even want to do man of the match today, guys.
Yeah. Like a lot of players were just bad. The game was completely tilted after that point, after that red card. But like, I thought the first, again, I said this on the spaces, Martino. I felt fine. I didn't think this was our best performance by any stretch going up into the point of the red card. But I thought like, all right, Juventus aren't doing anything.
That's the match.
And that's the match, yeah. But I mean, I
thought Locatelli basically crying with his teammates right now after what just happened. It looks like he's definitely emotional. Mirante looks very upset. You don't know how many starts he has left in his career, and it's a big one against Juve. I don't understand Locatelli crying like this when he had nothing but to celebrate. I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
I get the emotions, but buddy, like if you, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of dramatic in my opinion.
I mean, it's kind of funny to me. I
don't know.
That's pretty funny.
No, whatever.
All right. Let's get into the match review then, officially with this. So I am Martino. This is Matt. If you don't follow us already, you maybe probably do at this rate. Like up the video if you guys have not already. Watch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So all you have to do is just give us a 5-star rating up on there. That would be a big boost for myself and Matt when it comes to that stuff. Our support has been incredible for so long now. And again, a disappointing result today for Milan as they lose against Juventus. It just a really deflating type of performance that you're basically seeing here from Milan. So Matt, basically give us your thoughts of today, obviously heading into it. We didn't get a chance to preview it together. I previewed it with Alfredo, who said he would have been ecstatic with a draw for Juve. I'm sure he's ecstatic right now after that win. So thank you to him for coming on. So yeah, your thoughts.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think as I've been kind of chatting about here, and I did on Spaces at halftime.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that Milan, it wasn't looking like their best performance. I mean, they've had injuries. It was well documented. They had suspensions, but so did Juve. But I think at the end of the day, I looked at the lineups head to head, and I thought, yeah, you know what? I think Milan could get something. They're at home. This is an important stretch for them. I think they needed to get a good result here. Maybe not necessarily a win, but I did like Milan's chances of getting a win. I think we had enough on the field, and I thought we had more than Juventus to offer to get a victory. Through much of the first half, up until the red card, I thought Milan were the better side. I thought they had more waves of good possession, of attacking. Through Rafael Leao, I thought that they were going to get something. And, even Adley had some moments, in the first half. It was just moments, right? I don't think we were playing the type of cohesive football that we have seen in large parts of this portion of the season so far. And then the red card, right? I think, we're going to talk about, how we get flashbacks of the derby and how that really just cascaded from that point forward. And we all know how that one finished. But it's a red card. And I think that's one of the areas of concern with Malik Chow. I'm not going to overreact and say, he's this, he's that. He is a good defender that is still very young. And I think people have to understand that errors come with the territory of waiting on a player to fulfill his potential, right? I think the more minutes you give a young player, mind you, he's a starter. That, like, last year he wasn't a starter up until the second half of the season, really, and he didn't really play a ton of minutes in the grander scheme of things. So coming into the season, you're still going to get those growing pains. He's a young defender. He's taking on more responsibility. The mistakes happen, and it just so happened against two teams that you hate, and two teams that are competing for a top 4 spot with you, with Inter and Juve, right? Mm-hmm. And it's two singular moments that people are going to latch on to. So from that point forward, it was pretty apparent that I thought that Pioli was going to try to be a little bit more pragmatic and just try to see it out and hopefully get a draw. I think I would have been happy with the draw. I'm sure you would have too.
After the red card, you're saying?
Or? Yeah, after the red card.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially ahead of a big match against PSG in Paris. So it's disappointing. I mean, it's not the end of the season. I think that people, and now I'll say this: if we had our full team and we shit the bed and we played like we played for 90 minutes, I would have been more disappointing. But I think when you kind of put everything in a pot and you're like, yeah, the red card killed this game from us. We had to play 50 minutes without a defender. You had to be near perfect, and even a Juventus team that doesn't really evoke too much fear, at least these days, from an attacking standpoint. They have players, but we know how Allegri plays with them.
Yeah,
I thought that maybe we would get something from Leao, maybe get something from someone else, but I think it was this point where you're like, all right, take our medicine, get our guys back for the match against Napoli next weekend, and see if we can get a result there.
Just want to re-welcome everybody that's hopping on in here. Really appreciate all of you. We're going to go for like maybe another 20 minutes or so. We see a lot of people loading in right now, so we're up to 50. We were just watching towards the end of the match. Just want to give sort of that live reaction there going. So thank God we didn't have anything audio-wise dripping through. Bonetti on the call, so great job by him. Great job by Marco Messina interviewing Greg Berhalter prior to the match. It was a really interesting side of things to catch, especially with what we've seen regarding Milan and Juventus with the American players that they have acquired over the summer. But let's talk about the Chow red card again, just a little bit further for the people who are just joining us right now. So yeah, basically with the Chow red card, this just turned the entire match on its head. There was absolutely nothing left to say in that sense. You basically spoke on it. A young player like that is going to be committing errors. You just rather not see it in two of the bigger matches. I think that's kind of the whole, I guess, negative point of view, I guess you could say, for a lot of fans, because like you were saying again as well, not to just repeat, but when you have losses against Inter and Juve, despite that you're undefeated, it kind of leaves a bittersweet taste in your mouth, because Milan have been playing very well. It was 21 of 22 points. There were people absent, but I got to be honest with you, as important as this fixture was against Juve, I argue that the bigger fixture is coming up in a couple of days with PSG and Milan.
Mhm.
So to kind of move a little bit forward, Locatelli scoring his goal against Milan today in a 1-0 victory. We know the first goal of his entire career was against Juve in this particular stadium years ago when Locatelli scored on Juventus and Buffon. He was crying then after the match, after scoring his first career goal. And then after the match today, he starts crying, celebrated like crazy, because that's the sort of passionate player that he is. Yeah, I mean, listen, good for him, I guess. It's nice to see some Italian players playing well, but you'd rather it not be against Milan. I don't think he had a particularly great performance either. I don't think there was anyone from Juve today that stood out. I
No.
thought Gatti was getting bludgeoned. I think it's your boy Szczesny, if we're going to actually look anywhere for Juve today. That
Let's say in
parry
the beginning.
Giroud's attempt right
Yeah.
there. Pulisic just missed it. Who knows how many more attempts Milan would have had with a strong 11 throughout the match. Just a really disappointing sort of result in that sense. Again, hello to everybody that's in here, 56 of you. If you could like up the video, comment your thoughts on the match as well. Would be a great addition. I don't know too much, but I've heard we've been looking at a lot of talents in Argentina. We'll see. I think today is further confirmation that Juan Miranda is going to be in a hot pursuit come January for Milan. Go and check out sempermilan.com for that one. They have a lot more stuff there. So Christian Pulisic was the casualty in terms of substitutes for this match. Really, really upsetting for him. In this one, he gets some rest after he was playing a ton of minutes over the international break. He's looked fantastic for Milan so far this season. His first go against Juve isn't something that he particularly wanted, because we're looking at him getting subbed off. Did you agree with him being subbed as the guy?
Not in the moment, probably not. But I think, some of you guys in the chat have made some good points, with Chukwueze, and you mentioned it too, Martino, with Chukwueze on the shelf for however long. Looks like it's going to be at least a couple weeks at the minimum.
The international break, the next one.
So November. There's a little bit of preservation of Pulisic, who, yes, he stayed healthy so far this season. He looks fit. He looks fine. It really doesn't look like any injury concerns, but those are always lurking. And when Milan are in this spell where they're playing a lot of important games, they're playing a lot of games, you're playing 3 games in the span of a week. You have to kind of, understand when it's the right time to say, hey, like, this one looks like it's not going to happen for Pulisic. Let's look to the game in the Champions League against Paris Saint-Germain, preserve Pulisic, make sure he's fit and ready to go for that match. And I think that's kind of what played into Pioli's decision to, pull him versus, say, like a Giroud, who maybe tactically, if we didn't have, let's say this game was before the international break, maybe I would have thought, hey, maybe Okafor is the right choice here. Bring on some more dynamic, more speedy type players that can do a little bit more with their game, and see if you can kind of get, Juve in a position where they're vulnerable. But I think once you pull off Pulisic, I think it was pretty evident that, Pioli was trying to go for a draw. The substitutions, he took off Adli. He wanted to bring in Krunic, who maybe is more of a defensive-minded player that can probably do more in that department. So I think he wanted to keep the game in front of him versus chasing. And obviously the deflected goal by Locatelli really was it felt like the nail in the coffin. It didn't feel like Milan were going to do much of anything at that point. So it is what it is. I think, it's maybe a decent moment for us to see what Luka Romero can provide, right? I think Luka Romero had some decent moments in preseason. We haven't seen much of him, if at all, in league play so far, with Pulisic and Chukwueze holding down the right side. So maybe we get Luka Romero and it's next man up mentality. Romero's got to be ready for the occasion. He came on today. Again, the game didn't call for him to do much of anything. But, maybe going forward in the Napoli game, he's someone that maybe trains a little bit harder coming this week and says, hey, I have a window now. Maybe Pioli gives him his opportunity, right? So we'll see. I think, after I've digested it, it does make a little bit of sense to pull off Pulisic.
Diego, stream schedule is we try and record a podcast every Wednesday. That gets uploaded to Apple and Spotify. Everything else we try and go live after the game. Mostly myself. Matt is just kind of all over the place, so he can't guarantee anything. But most of the time, I am here doing this. JC, I don't know what you mean about that. What opinion? What opinion? Where? I'm sorry. Is how I felt inside seeing the Jovic sub to me. Also, I agree with it. Doesn't really make much sense. Suspended players, they have to come back stronger. We'll see with that. Luka has a cannon of a leg. Yeah, I mean, he's talented like that. It's just very frustrating. What are the final points here towards the bottom? And then we have Sant'Angelo stuff there. Listen, it's a bad result for Milan. There's no way around it. This is one of the more difficult stretches of the season. Not too many of our top 4 competitors were going up against top opponents this week. Okay, JC, got you. Maybe I missed the tag. I don't really look at notifications that much on Twitter anymore. There's too many idiots in the reply. I'm not saying you are. It's just a force of habit.
Real quick, and this is just more so like an open kind of question to anybody that wants to comment, obviously. So we mentioned the 2 errors by Malik Chow that led to big goals in big matches, and those results obviously have been, no points out of 6 total for Milan against Inter and Juventus.
Yeah.
But then you're going to look to Milan's record and say, well, look, they're still in a good position in the table. They've won games. They're accumulating points regardless of how they're doing it. Is there any concern, or do you have anything to kind of throw to people who might say, hey, in Milan's 2 biggest games, they haven't picked up any points?
You saw Aquino's tweet?
No, I didn't.
Aquino basically was like saying like Milan doesn't have it, saying in the big games this season they haven't done well. I'll say this. They got a red card this game. What do we want to go off of? They were controlling.
The Inter game is
you know what I'm saying? Like it's the same thing as it's always been, and I don't know how many times I have to say it, and I'm not saying I'm getting annoyed at you, but it's just I just keep getting proven right. This team can create chances. Can they finish? That's the big question that gets asked every single time. Forget about the Inter one. You take that result out of there. Milan with a red card in this one, I think it's null and void. The one against Inter, they were absolutely atrocious. Like, just if you want to attack them for that performance, absolutely. The 2 performances in the Champions League, you made enough chances. Finish them. This is the same story that we talk about all the time. That's why it was critical, in my opinion, to go out and try and get to Remy. I understand how there's so many different issues regarding a deal like that, and I know it was in like the 13th hour that they were trying to approve that deal and get that across the line. That's very difficult. But then again, you enter the season where you're like Luka Jovic, someone who hasn't trained with this side the entire off season in summer, and then he has to get acclimated within the squad. You can't really put on Noah Okafor again. It's really just odd spots and moments for Milan to sub on players this past season. We're talking about 2 straight weeks with red cards that they have to play on for multiple minutes. We're talking about players picking up massive and key suspensions. We have key injuries where backup goalkeepers go out, where we have our starting central midfielder. He's finally just returning to training, but even the fact that Benacer is going to be coming back, he's going to be leaving again. There aren't, Juve have their issues as well. There's no denying that, and the same goes for Roma. But out of the teams that are actually competing for the title right now, Inter is in the most fortunate position.
Best equipped. Yeah.
That's it. They're in the most fortunate spot. Who are they missing that it's a dire need for them or it's a huge issue? I understand they have dropped results at this point in time, but seriously, if you kind of look at that, I think what it comes down to is Milan probably come away with 3 points today if they have that full 11 and they're pushing towards it. Obviously, they just didn't have that. Again, you just can't get a red card that early in the match or at any point in the match. It was really poor from them. We are fortunate that Victor Osimhen isn't going to be starting against Milan because that dynamic play that he brings as an elite athlete would have been really difficult for someone like Simon Kjaer. I have absolutely no doubt that it's going to be Theo, Kjaer, Tomori, and then Calabria starting at the back 4 for that. Then you're probably going to see Krunic, Loftus-Cheek. If Loftus-Cheek is able to start against Napoli, or you might see something with Musa there because it depends on Loftus-Cheek starting against PSG as well. Reinders is getting every single minute possible. It's like, when do you see Pobega coming on as well? This is kind of where it gets difficult, because now Milan also are limited in their options and who they're able to sub off and who they aren't. And also, again, this is actually the third game this season out of the 9. A third of their matches, Milan this season, have had to have played down a man, where they can't properly make their subs. The Roma match, Tomori's off for a very long time. The opportunities in which they even concede goals this season, twice they concede in those matches against Roma and Juve, they concede when they're down a man, not when they're at even playing field. So if you really, really think about it, when Milan are conceding, it's not when it's full 11s on the field. When their poor results come in, it's like this. They've lost 2 games. One against Inter, way deserved. Today, they deserved because they were terrible with this red card. It's just frustrating. We'll see. And the funny thing is, these other squads have to slip up as well. Who's to say Juve play like this in an 11 against another squad? They're going to lose. They can't do that. They're not going to be picking up 3 points like that. They're obviously going to be dropping points. I think the real threats this year again, and Juve, I think, with once a week, but now these losses in the midfield, I think, are going to wane on them. Yeah, I mean, listen, look, Milan can reinforce come January. I'm not overly disappointed in this. We're top 4 right now. We're still in contention to make it to the knockout stages. I think just a really poor decision by a defender is kind of trumping everyone's emotions ahead of these fixtures. To me, it's just a poor result, and you move on, and that's it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it stinks. Obviously, it's disappointing to watch what we just watched. But I mean, I think again, you make a good point. Is that like when Milan have been able to play with 11 men for 90 minutes, I think they've been fine. I mean, you throw the Inter game, they got absolutely smacked, and Inzaghi has Pioli's number, and they have Milan's number really since Milan won the Scudetto.
Yes.
So like that's just throw them out of the picture at this point. But yeah, if you played Juventus next week with a full team, and you don't get a red card, like I think we handled that game. I did not like the lineup that Juventus put out. I also was kind of scratching my head like at Allegri. Like you leave Chiesa and Vlahovic on the bench. Like what's the rationale behind that? I don't know.
They weren't training or fully fit this entire week, so they've been kind of dealing with those issues. And again, I mean, Vlahovic has got a score on that turn, and when Mirante spills it, I mean, good job by there. Chiesa, I have no issues with Chiesa at all, just as a player and what he does. Is that a pick by the Seahawks? Yes, it is. But yeah, listen, I don't know. People get way too down on themselves with certain results. And this is why I said Milan was finishing 3rd this year. I didn't have supreme confidence in this side.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it funny to me when the things that we all kind of expected to eventually happen to this team happen. People act stunned. Like, oh, a young defender that you're going to be starting for the majority of matches in his first full flight season in a top league is going to struggle. Okay, that's typical. You have midfield absences because of your injuries or suspensions. You're going to struggle. You don't have a backup left back for a top 3 left back in the entire planet, and you're going to be in trouble. Like that's also, ultimately what it comes down to.
Also, if you believe in if you believe in also too like the law of averages and kind of luck and all that stuff, I'm personally not really kind of into that stuff, but yeah, I mean, like the way that Milan won the game against Genoa, like if you think you're going to get those victories the entire season, and you're going to be on the winning side of those every weekend, and you think that you're not going to have a red card completely tilt the scales in a match, you're sadly mistaken. You really don't know the sport. You don't know Milan, because Milan they're a roller coaster. Following Milan and being a Milan fan is a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. You're going to have matches like we did see against Genoa, where you're like, wow, this team is destined. They're going to win the title. And people were talking about that. People think it's their year. Inter fans were like, yeah, it's going to be their year. And then Milan come out in a game like this and get a red card. And now you have PSG, then you have Napoli, and then you have PSG. And now you might have Milan fans panicking. Like, are we going to get top 4? Like, that's how week to week following this team can be if you don't really temper your expectations and control your emotions about what a long season can give you.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is. Like the Scudetto winning season. How many times were we like, nah, Milan might not even get top 4.
Correct.
They win the Scudetto, right? Like even last year.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
like,
does anybody else remember? First of all, it was one of the better starts that Milan have ever had to Serie A. So we're talking about incredible teams. I know every single year, and if you kind of look on this reflection of what squads used to win with back in the day, you know, like you can't always compare how Milan started, obviously, in the 90s to how they do now. There's so many different reasons and all that. And we're going to end this in 5 minutes just so we're going to wrap up these final points. Listen, to your point, the year they won the Scudetto, people do not remember how garbage some of their wins were. They had to rely on Brahim Diaz and Daniel Maldini to put in 2 goals against Spezia away. I mean, again, even this year, the way we win against Genoa, crazy. But we have beaten some pretty top teams as well so far that we're supposed to be competing with in Serie A. Like, I don't know how anyone can sit here and say that this, again, Milan deserve to lose. They didn't deserve a victory today. Okay, let me get that out of the way. But if you're going to be judging Milan playing down a man against Juventus with all these absences, then that's on you for making such a naive sort of takeaway from it. I think it's just a bit too overdramatic is all I have to say. But yeah, I mean, kind of winding on down with this, our plan is to basically go live after the PSG match. If Matt is able to do so, he will hop in with me. If not, we might just have a pre-recording separately for the episode and then preview ahead to Napoli, who we have to book a guest for. But yeah, our preview for Milan PSG is already out. So if you have not seen that already, subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, obviously to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to it if you have not already. There's 52 of you in here. If we could just get the likes up to 30, just like away if you can. And again, there isn't much left to discuss regarding this. Teo and Mike back for the next match days. We lose Milik Chow for that, but we have capable center back backups now. Everybody is healthy in that regard. So that's slight silver lining that we got there. Any final thoughts, Santangelo, on the match or anything else regarding Milan?
No, nothing really. I mean, the only thing I want to say is I think, like, you know, it's difficult, right? Because I think, you know, you never want to lose to your like direct rivals.
Yeah.
And I know this was kind of the conversation after the Inter game where like, yeah, at the end of the day, it is one match, and it's like it is more than one match because of who it's against. Having said all that, I think like if you sold it to people and packaged it in a way where like, hey, you're top 3 after what, 9 match days, 10 match days,
top 2, baby.
Top 2, given the kind of congestion we've had with this schedule of tough opponents, I think Milan fans would have signed on for that. I think my eyes and my head are looking to the PSG game and getting through these next 3 matches because I think this is such a difficult window for us ahead of the international break that's coming up. And also to, you know, just think ahead towards the end of the year. Like, you want to be in a position come January where now you can make that maybe push on the market. Now you can maybe make that jump in the second half of the season to see where you're at, and maybe you push ahead for a title. But I think Milan have to go through this difficult period of matches and the injuries and the suspensions and navigate it in a way that says, hey, like, we have to think more so with a positive mindset. So a loss is a loss. This one sucks. Red card took the air out of the game completely. We all know that. Milan weren't good on the day. What's your prediction for the PSG? Yeah, go watch the match preview we did with Tom Scholes. Super intelligent guy. Pretty funny how he took some like very like casual, subtle digs at Newcastle in that episode.
Also at PSG as well.
About PSG as well. Yeah, that was, dude. It's always a blast talking to Tom. So make sure you guys go check out that episode.
If we get to 35 likes, JC, then we'll reveal the predictions here. Otherwise, you know, I mean, we're trying.
Yeah.
The way we try getting Raf and not sure, Anthony. I don't think they're big fans of us. Nice guy from when I talked to him, but I don't think they're big fans. Especially some of the Napoli guys. Maybe they called me a sore winner. However, that makes sense.
Russo,
I don't even understand. Huh?
Russo or Gio for Napoli, maybe?
We'll figure it out. I don't know if Russo wants to come back.
I remember last time he came on, he said, every time I talk to you guys, we don't do well. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, Chino, JC, it's in the description and the video. Just speed up towards the end. You don't have to watch the entire thing. We give ourselves a prediction for that. Shout out Mirante to the double save, absolutely big HD. But again, guys, we really appreciate all the support that you give us. There's more than enough people in here always chilling in that kind of stuff. Damn it, Cardinals scored a touchdown. But anyways, guys,
Thank you guys.
appreciate it. Tune into that. Look out on my Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, for all that information. Check out sempermilan.com as well. And again, just go back, rewatch the rest of this, and give us your thoughts on that. Anything else, Santangelo?
No, let's hope for a good result against PSG.
All right, take care, guys.